Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. I have about 6 albums to go through for this one, but the only thing I can really do or even try and promote is the fact that I couldn't get a Fight the Night done on Sunday because I forgot there was one to do and it was too late to do it, and it was probably too late to put together an edit, but it was a pretty good fight. And I'll just say that much. And also, thanks to everyone who watched Defy the Gods 5 last Friday. That was an incredible show. Probably my second favourite Defy the Gods, and probably my second favourite pay-per-view of Season 5 as well. It was so good. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about 6 albums, so let's get through them as quick as I can. We begin with an interesting case. A band named Aorta and their first album, I think it's their first album, or it's their first one, well, named Monolith. Now, if Monolith rings any bells, that's because this band has technically been around since 1988 under the name Monolith, but they broke up, then they reformed under the same name, then they broke up, then they reformed and changed their name to Aorta. Giving this one a C-. Let's go to the episode. I thought this was just kind of a weird one. It's very heavy, thrashy, groovy metal, excuse my hair. It's not bad from that perspective, but there's just so much stuff going on with it that it's really hard to try and pin anything down. Like, it feels a bit excessive for an album of this style. I don't mind the riffs. I think it's got really good heavy stuff, but it kind of only focuses on that. The lyrical themes are madly inconsistent. From what I could read, which I couldn't find much on, weirdly, was mostly just about the love of metal as a genre, and that was kind of it. Just like that, whole elitist, hardline attitude that I've been fucking sick of forever since I became more of a metal fan. I hated it. Performance-wise, it's not bad, but it's not really a band, much like one band I'll be getting into after this. It is kind of a collective of people, and there's like 6 vocalists, and like 1 drummer and 1 guitarist, I think 1 bassist. They do okay, I just wish I could remember who does what, and I couldn't distinguish any vocalist from a different one. They all sounded kind of similar to me. I think there was at least 1 female vocalist, I could be wrong about that. I think she might have done the best job, but yeah, I don't know. Production-wise, it was kind of a clunky mess. It doesn't feel refined in its sound. It just feels weirdly very cutting room floor for what it is. For an album that's on, like, from what I can remember, I think it's on a pretty big label. Yeah, as always, I'll correct that right now, but it just feels so strangely put together. And structurally wise, it's very odd too. The thing is, it's not that it doesn't try to throw things at the wall. It does throw things at the wall. It throws a lot at the wall, and some of it bounces back in the sound's face, and it just doesn't hold or gel. But I can't give it a lower grade than the C- because at least they're trying new ideas. They're just not really working well. So, I don't know, it's kind of a weird one. Not a recommend from me. You might get something more out of it than I did, but just a very strange album at the end of the day. Next we have The Arms with their newest album, Perfect Saviors. This is a band I sort of heard about, I think through a Sputnik Music review, because I was looking for like reviews similar to an album that I think I've got in my top 10. I couldn't tell you which one it is though. And I'm giving this one a B-, which is a whole step up from Aorta's new one. So this is a hardcore punk collective, but extremely experimental with it. And I say collective, it's like a collective supergroup, because there's so many people that have come in and out of the band. It's not really like a group of people. There's like 1 person who does like art direction for it. I don't remember the fucking name. But the only thing I know about this album is that Jacob Bannon from Converge does some vocals on it, and I love Converge and I love Jacob Bannon, so, that kind of puts into my good books a little bit. Riff-wise, it's not terrible. It's quite handled well. I like a lot of the sort of experimental stuff that they do with the riffs. I do like the focus on it being more self-aware with its weirdness, which is something that Aorta's album didn't really have. It's not really benefit that they leaned into, but the Arms do lean into that. Like, they're self-aware about how strange it is. Yeah, the riff work was nice and pretty crunchy at times. I do like that it had some solid melody. It didn't feel super punky though. It felt more in the experimental side, but most of it did work. Lyrically wise, I think there was political themes. I honestly couldn't tell you. I think there might have been themes of fucking romance or existentialism. I couldn't bloody tell you. I really couldn't find much on this, and this one had much easier stuff to find compared to Aorta. Performance-wise, not really many complaints. I thought all the people involved in the project, because I think they change people with each album. This is their 5th one from what I know. Yeah, each time they bring in new people, they usually do great. I say that even though this is my first album by them. But, Jacob Bannon, always a plus from me. Production-wise, not terrible. I do like how it tries to make all the sounds that it includes work, and the structure is also nicely mixed up with its natural experimentation, and it adds quite a bit to the pacing. It can be a bit off-putting, and it really can take a while to really find its place, but I do find it to be a pretty good album. I'm just not as crazy about it as other professional critics seem to be, but hey, as I've said many times before, I'm not a professional. Next up we have Bad Wolves and their new album Die About It, and yeah, I really like me some Bad Wolves. I think they're a band that's just been like increasing their trajectory, especially since they dropped that prick Tommy Vext. Giving this one an A. Second highest grade of the episode, by the way. That means there's an A+ on the horizon. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this one. Riff work, incredible. Love the layering of it. Love that we got more guitar solos, because that's always something I feel like Bad Wolves needs to do more. I still feel like they don't do enough of them, even on this album, but yeah, really good work from that. And it's interesting from a band member perspective as well, because Dan Laskowish, who is the vocalist who replaced Tommy, does rhythm guitar on this one, because their former rhythm guitarist left early this year or some point last year, I think. And he does a really good job stepping up on the axe, and I appreciate that, you know, and his vocals have come so far, like he's singing higher notes, he's even doing some really good rapping on this one. He's just fucking killing every aspect that he goes for. Obviously, the rest of the band's great too. Love the lyrical themes of sort of like media presentation and perception, and some stuff about addiction as well, and grief, and, you know, very well handled, and sort of with a sort of tongue-in-cheeky kind of tone, which is not really something I expected Bad Wolves to do, but they do take it seriously enough, and it does balance out really nicely. Production-wise, yeah, no, I can't remember who really does this, but they do a really solid job with the mix. They make all the sounds pop, and it's just so well handled, so vibrant what it does, really well fleshed out, and the structure is, you know what? I will admit this is kind of the problem with Bad Wolves, is that most of their songs do kind of sound similar, probably, but they do at least try and experiment a little bit with this one, and it does pay off quite a lot for them. It adds a lot to the framing of the album, which is very good, and yeah, I like that they do try and throw these new things, and I like that pretty much all of them work. I just want to see if they keep doing this and keep making their step-ups. They're sort of a bit like a more rock version of While She Sleeps for me. They're a band that has a specific formula, and they don't need to change it because they've got it fucking down pat, but they're adding the layers that they need to. I'm just waiting for Bad Wolves to finally take that much bigger step, like While She Sleeps seemed to be doing with Self Hell. I'm only judging it based on the one song they've released for it, but we'll see where it goes. Next up, we have Silent Planet with their new album Super Bloom. So Silent Planet are the sort of like new hotness metalcore band, I guess you could say. I first heard their 2018 album back in 2018. I'm giving this one a B+. I thought it had some really good moments too. I thought it was really good style metalcore. I like that it added more industrial and electronic elements, and that's not really something I expected them to incorporate. You know, it's not really something that they messed around with a lot in the last one. The last one had a lot of like proggy stuff and some really good well, it had something else to it, but I can't remember exactly what it was, but that made it work. Not as much of it works on Super Bloom, I will admit, but I do still think that the riffs are very strong for the most part, and I like how they marry well with the electronic elements. I think the drum work is really good too. From what I could read up on lyrical themes, the main one is the theme of transcendence, and also love is the theme as well. And it doesn't really come off as pretentious as it could have. I think the performances are really good too. I think lead singer Garrett Russell is definitely improved in vocals. I think his screaming is really good. But he does more cleans here, which I think is a very underutilized part of his skill set, and he does need to utilize it more. Production-wise, really nice too. I love how it blends the elements that they throw together. It does. It just pairs really well with what the band naturally do. Structurally wise, again, most of it does start to feel a bit the same, but it does still have a very tight flow to it and a really good pacing. And again, I like that they bring in new stuff to try and flesh out what they usually do. Again, sort of like what Bad Wolves do, what While She Sleeps do. But Silent Planet have a very specific sound. They add the shit that they need to make it interesting. And this album does at least try and do that. So yeah, really good stuff from Silent Planet, as you would expect if you're a Silent Planet fan. I am, so, you know, yeah. Next we have one from a band I'd been wanting to listen to for a while but never did. We have The Struts with their new album Pretty Vicious. So The Struts are a band I sort of heard about through the NHL 2K19 soundtrack, because their song Bulletproof Baby, which is probably my favourite song by them, even though I've only listened to that and like all the songs from this album. Yeah, really good shit. This album doesn't quite have anything on the level of Bulletproof Baby, but I'm still giving this album a B. I thought it had some really solid stuff to it. I should have like pointed out a lot of the I don't think I did the genres for some of these. I think I did very well for the arms. Bad Wolves, yeah, sort of a hard rock, heavy metal, groove metal act. Some Planet I did their metalcore, proggy post-hardcore stuff. The Struts more of a modern day. There we go, sort of more modern day sort of glam rock band, not a parody glam rock band like Steel Panther. You know, these guys do try and take themselves a bit more seriously, but they are still self-aware of how daft the genre can be, and I do like it when a band has that self-awareness. I thought the riff work was really good, just really solid rhythmic guitar rhythms, and rhythmic guitar rhythms, rhythmic guitar hooks, and drum work, and really nice bass, and even some keyboard work as well. I don't know if the band outrightly has a keyboardist or if it was just a production choice, but either way, a lot of it does work here. I like the lyrics, sort of based on like sex and love and trying to stand out for yourself as well. You know, the typical sort of like modern glammy rock themes, but it does work with the band. I think the performance is really good, but Luke Spiller just has so much charisma to his vocals, and I'm glad that he gets to let that fly here. He just fucking kills it on the mic. I really like the production too. Very clean, pretty glossy in a lot of places, but you know, glam rock is known for having a typically glossy production style, so whoever did this did a really good job with that. Structurally wise, it can kind of feel like it is padding things out on occasion, but it does have a really tight formula, and it does a really good job of sticking to it, and it doesn't really mix things up a whole lot, but it doesn't really need to, and I like that it sticks to its lane. It doesn't try to overreach, so yeah, just really good stuff from a really good band who I should listen to the older stuff of at some point in my life. And finally, we have Youth Fountain with their third album, Together and Lonesome. Now, I know I don't typically say album like numbers, like what number album it is, but you know, I don't really care in this case because I can do whatever the hell I want. It's my goddamn show. But yeah, Youth Fountain are an emo leaning pop punk band, and I really love this album. And this one gets the A+ that I was alluding to earlier. Just off the wall fucking love the emo energy, love how it feels very nostalgic in its way. So it reminded me a bit of Tear Me to Pieces by Story of the Year, which is still one of my favourite albums by the year too. Like, has that sort of nostalgia bait, but Youth Fountain haven't been nearly around as long as Stick to Your Guns, Story of the Year, and very different bands. I love them both though. And Youth Fountain, I think are just like I think it's just a project handled by one person named Tyler Zanin, who is the vocalist and guitarist, and he puts on an absolute tour de force performance. He sings with so much earnest honesty and has a lot of charm to his voice, and he has such good timing as well. Like, he knows how to really impact his vocals at the right points. I like the lyrical themes of dealing with anxiety and loss and depression and sadness and angst, and, you know, fairly relatable themes, and really, really handled well, really nicely written, but not overly bleak in tone. However, having said that, the tone's actually quite nicely done because it's a very like bright feeling album in terms of its instrumentation, which has so many great layered guitar hooks. I love how good the fucking guitar work is. The bass work's solid too. Drums really good. Just love the energy of the instrumentals and how like optimistic it feels, but like there's a subtle sort of bleakness of sorts, like a sense of something sad, but not the word sad, but something else beginning with an S. In the lyrics, and I really like how that's done. I've already gone over the performance. Production, really good too. I think this was handled by Tyler with the help of someone else. I could be completely incorrect about that. It was really some pure noise though, so whoever they got to produce it probably did a really probably. They did a really fucking good job, and Pure Noise usually has that faith in their producers, which is why I love them so much as a label. They're awesome. Yeah, really good production though. Love how, sorry it took a while to get there. Love how the sound feels like really big and punchy in just all the right places. Very intelligent album in that regard, which is not something that pop punk or this style pop punk often gets credit for. And structurally wise, just really good. Maybe a tiny bit too short. It's just over half an hour, but what we do get with the album is a lot of really fun vibes and a solid flow. Like the songs just go into each other so well, but they do quite a lot to feel very distinct from each other, and it feels like a nice musical sandwich story, and I love it when an album feels that way. So yeah, if you've heard anything about Youth Fountain, this is definitely the time to check them out. I really liked their last album, Keepsakes and Reminders. I love this one too. Really good shit. So that'll about do it for the albums I've reviewed. Next is obviously the ranking system. So it'll go Aortha with Monolith, excuse me, The Armed with Perfect Saviors, The Struts with Pretty Vicious, Silent Planet with Super Bloom, Bad Wolves with Die About It, and Youth Fountain with Together and Lonesome. But as always, go and check all of these out yourself, because that, allows you to formulate your own opinions, and that's what makes the shit that we do kind of interesting. That's what's next from me. I'm thinking maybe a reaction tomorrow. I don't really have plans for a stream tomorrow because, it's the customary week off, and last Friday was literally my eFeds version of WrestleMania. Yeah, I don't really have many plans past that except for a Fight Night review, and I really hope, because I think this weekend is UFC 295, and I really hope it's Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira. I hope that's the fight of the fucking year, because it just feels like it already. That match is going to slap so hard. Quite possibly literally. So I'll see you all most likely on Sunday, but I'll try and get a reaction done of some sort tomorrow. So as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.